Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back to episode 2 of the Two Films Podcast. I'm your host, Jake Metzger, your friendly neighborhood swatch finder, as well as my co-host this week, a man who's from a time where we were a more proper society. Ladies and gentlemen, David Reed. David, how are we this fine day?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Ready to talk about some two rom-coms?
Oh, yeah.
Specifically, Meg Ryan rom-coms?
Indeed.
Indeed. For any and all inquiries, comments, and concerns, and what pair of films you would combine for a Two Films episode of Snarp Fangle, and why we didn't choose When Harry Met Sally, feel free to send them on over, and any suggestions to snarpfanglepod@gmail.com, or you can just text Jake. Now, before we get into it, David, I have two things I need to get out of the way. The first one is just random, so forgive me, but I was listening to the song Shadrach by the Beastie Boys this week.
Yeah.
It just came into the playlist, or in the queue, I guess you would say, and I forgot how good that song is.
Oh, that song's a banger, dude.
So amazing. I had it on repeat for a while. like the Goodyear line, and it's so goofy and funny, like the Adidas line, what's that one where it's like the author, they talk about the author, I can't remember, but they have they reference Charles Dickens, Harry S. Truman, Colonel Sanders at one point. It's just a funny goofy song. It's really great. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. That's the first one. The second one, man, is I have a present for you.
Oh, yeah?
Since we're releasing this on, Valentine's Day week, or the week after, I guess you could say, I have a Valentine's Day present for you. So let me reach down and grab it here real quick.
Oh, my goodness.
Here you go, David. Happy Valentine's Day.
Oh, my God.
What is it? Explain it. What is the audience? What are they having you look? What are you looking at right now?
I don't know what I'm looking at. No, I'm just kidding. This appears to be a Blu-ray or is it a DVD?
It's Blu-ray.
Blu-ray of Hudson Hawk.
Yeah.
I didn't know such a thing existed.
Yeah, remastered by Arrow Video. If you don't want it, I totally understand, because we both trashed that movie last time. But I just wanted to give it to you.
I mean, this is a treasure. When did this come out? Is this older or is this newer?
I don't know exactly the date. It might say it on the back of the Blu-ray, but I want to say it was like 2010s, maybe like 2018, maybe before that.
Yeah, that just doesn't make any sense that anyone would ever want to release this on Blu-ray.
Yeah. So I found it on, it was on Amazon, but it was pretty expensive. So I found it on eBay brand new. So I got it there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It makes me want to listen to the director's commentary to see what kind of a chicanery they were up to.
There's a lot of air in this box.
Yeah. I ordered it literally after we recorded last time, and it's been sitting in my room. So maybe it's got the air of 2018 still
got
sitting.
That Chinese 2018 air in it.
Yeah, printed in Mexico, baby. Woo!
But yeah, I love it. It's wonderful.
Yeah, you're well, happy Valentine's Day, David. All right. So, speaking of Valentine's Day, we thought, how about two romance films? And then as we were watching the first film, which we will talk about here momentarily, we had a discussion where we're like, well, wait, what about this one instead? And I said, oh, that's a good idea. Although also that other one, the second one we were going to watch, we'll save for a different thing, a different Two Films thing. So last time, episode 1 was two bizarre Bruce Willis films. This time, it's two Meg Ryan rom-coms. And David, what are the two films we are talking about today?
So we're talking about Kate and Leopold and Sleepless in Seattle.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into it, shall we? Kate and Leopold is the first one on the docket. An English duke from 1876 is inadvertently dragged into modern-day New York, where he falls for a plucky advertising executive. Directed by James Mangold. Written by Stephen Rogers and James Mangold. Starring Meg Ryan, Hugh Jackman, Liev Schreiber, and Breckin Meyer. That guy from Rat Race, as I know him by.
On a side note, I did not know this movie was written by Captain America.
Oh yeah, Steven Rogers. Yeah, that's really, you know what? That's really funny. Anyway, budget. They had a budget of $48 million and a box office of $76 million. Now, as a side note here, real quick, I'm sure, even though this didn't make like double the budget back, I can quite imagine that this film broke even and made a big profit off of rentals and TV licenses, just for it being a rom-com.
Yeah, I feel like this movie probably really was a hit in the home box office market.
Yeah. Runtime of an hour and
I just realized I said home box office.
Yeah.
I meant home.
Oh, home box
video,
office is
HBO.
HBO, yeah.
I meant home video.
Home video, yeah. I remember we had this on DVD as well as we didn't have the VHS. We had the DVD, I think, at that point. And dude, I grabbed the DVD last night when we were watching it, and my parents' copy, I grabbed theirs. And man, that DVD cover, that thing's like a brick. Man, you can't break that sucker. That thing it's made of good material. It's good stuff. All right, runtime of an hour and 58 minutes, almost 2 hours, and release year of 2001. David, Kate, and Leopold. You got Wolverine himself. I believe X-Men released in the year 2000, and then this came out the following year after that. So Hugh Jackman was on the up and up, and to have him in a rom-com with Meg Ryan, the legendary rom-com actress, I guess you could say that. What did you think?
She has been in a lot of rom-coms.
A lot of them. I mean, we had our pick of the litter, honestly. But we went with Kate and Leopold because, first off, this is a nostalgic pick for myself. I would think that this film, it just means it's a little special to me. Not like the special that I am in my head, a little touch in the head, as they call me. But this film is a certain kind of special, a real special kind of special. It's a rom-com, sure. But you got your boy James Mangold directing it, who's a very versatile director, especially nowadays in the last 15 years or so when we're recording. But I want to know what you thought of this, David. What's your history with the film, and what did you think about this time rewatching it?
I don't have any particular nostalgia for this film, but I've seen it at least a couple times over the years. And I guess I never really paid much attention to it, but I never particularly disliked it either. So this was kind of my first more or less critical viewing of the film. I have to say it's a quite well put together film, all things considered. Like the performances are really good. The script works. The camera work is good. Everything just comes together very nicely.
Yeah, honestly, there's not many complaints in my department, I would say. I think, the concept is this guy, he's a duke. He's in New York. He travels back and forward in time, I should say, to the present New York. And he is just shell-shocked. He doesn't know why he's there. The guy that he was following that brought him there is explaining time theory or something to him, and it's because they fell into a hole off the Brooklyn Bridge. So there's a certain time travelingness to this film that doesn't go too in depth. But as long as you know the basics of if you've seen a time travel movie, you know the basics of what's going on. I want to say that what really struck me on this rewatch was kind of, again, echoing what you're saying. This film's pretty well put together. I mean, the acting, the direction, the shots, everything, it just comes together real well. And I think the biggest flaw you could find in this film is probably just the whole time travel aspect itself. I think if people take this and they overanalyze it, if you overanalyze this thing, it's going to get some plot holes pretty quickly. But I think, honestly, it has enough where you're kind of just on board for the ride. But what about that aspect to you, over the years just watching this film? I mean, this isn't the time machine. This isn't Timeline. This isn't other time travel films. This isn't Back to the Future. So, that whole aspect, it's not in the movie a whole lot. It's more about the relationships of the characters.
Yeah.
But I think it brings a unique twist to the rom-com genre, I guess you could say, besides Boy Meets Girl.
Yeah, I mean, it works well enough, I think, because it lends enough sort of sci-fi flair to it to kind of make it stand out from the pack, but it doesn't delve so far into sci-fi that it can't be just simply enjoyed as a rom-com for, those rom-com enjoyers out there.
Yeah, and it's a very, also say it's a very sweet film. I don't know exactly what I'm trying to describe, but it's got a certain sincerity to it. You get, I get a little bit of the sense of that too in like When Harry Met Sally, some of other Rob Reiner's other work as well. There's just something about, and this isn't Rob Reiner obviously, but I think it's cool how James Mangold, you see the name, you're like, wait, that's the guy that did the Wolverine and Logan? Oh, and then, other stuff as well. But to just see how versatile of a director he was at the time and still is, I think it's kind of a cool look back into history, I would say, pardon the pun. But let's talk about Hugh Jackman. Let's get him out of the way, because I think he's very, of course, charming, obviously. But it's funny seeing him in X-Men and then into this rom-com where he's in a different environment.
Yeah. I feel like this is it's really funny because I think a lot of people, myself included, were introduced to Hugh Jackman through X-Men. And so that was kind of like our default for how we saw him as an actor. But it's really funny to me, like now knowing more about him than I did when I first saw X-Men when I was a child. I have to say he's definitely much more in his preferred wheelhouse here than he is in as Wolverine. Like he is a musical theater guy through and through, and that comes through very clearly in this film.
Yeah, I liked the part specifically about, on touching on the song and dance man himself, the part where they're singing Modern Major General, the piano with the kid and Charlie, I believe his character's name. And that was just a little cute scene. I liked it. And then it brings to mind, oh yeah, he was on, Broadway or whatever, and whatever the Broadway equivalent is in Australia, for example, which is where he's from. And, this guy was in Oklahoma in the late 90s. And then he got X-Men right after that. So it's like really bizarre, the journey he's been on as an actor and performer, I guess. But it's cool to see a little bit more of a glimpse of that from where he started. I mean, you have, of course, Greatest Showman as an example. And I think as you get into like the Wolverine and Logan, he is far more comfortable in that character as the years wore on, but that's because, with time, obviously. But I think he plays an interesting role here. What's it called? A fish out of water character. And I think he serves it well, he treats it well. And I think specifically his interactions with the characters is something I really appreciated. That's where I kind of go back to the sincerity aspect. He's a gentleman, so he's going to treat Meg Ryan's character like a lady, obviously. But he's also just kind of basically everybody. The only kind of lack of that we see is with Stewart, where he's fresh out of the Brooklyn water, and he's like, oh, who are you? Yeah. And then he interacts with Charlie and then the little kid, and he's just he's a gentleman. He's a duke. And specifically his interaction with Charlie really stood out to me in this film. And I liked that relationship they had on screen. Breckin Meyer, who's the actor's name, I found very enjoyable in the film. And him and Hugh Jackman's interaction with Breckin Meyer's character, Charlie trying to get like a girl's number and stuff, was really cute. And I thought it was really well done. And it's cool to see, well, for lack of a better term, the beta and the alpha relationship in this movie with Charlie and Hugh Jackman's character, which, oh, dude, I don't even remember his name. Leopold, duh. So I really appreciated that.
It's in the title of the film. I never really thought about this, but the dynamic in this film reminds me a lot of the that Brendan Fraser film Blast from the Past. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, it does remind me of that now.
It's
Yeah.
very much like a sort of like that kind of thing, but then you have a prim and proper British sounding character as opposed to just, you know, the good old 1950s American.
Yeah, and something I was kind of worried about when I saw the time of this film, like 2 hours. I'm like, I don't remember it being 2 hours. And we did watch the director's cut, which I think adds like 6 extra minutes, but just little shots here and there and little explanations of what's really going on. That was
It
cut
also
from
adds an
theatrical.
entire
Subplot, yeah.
that was cut because apparently test audiences were horrified at its implications, which is bizarre to me because I'm like, how? Why?
Yeah, it's funny because test audiences are very. Speaking of the plot, test audiences are pretty prevalent throughout the entire plot. I mean, she's at an advertising agency and they manage different things like a movie premiere, the butter, the fresh creamery butter,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of thing. So different products and what different demographics react to certain things, blah blah blah, advertising, you know, marketing. But it's cool to. It's kind of funny. You never really see this kind of aspect, especially during her intro during the movie screening, Kate's intro, where it's a test audience, so they're trying to figure like what their reaction is. And it's funny because I'm like, I don't think I've seen a movie portray a test audience at all because they happen in real life, but you never really see it on screen at all, you know, unless it in this something like this. So I thought that was kind of cool. And then the whole thing about bringing in Hugh Jackman as well. I thought that was cute. And I would say that let's get to Meg Ryan's character, who has just an awful haircut. I mean, we were watching it. I was at my parents that night, and I said, "Hey, come on over. We'll watch it." King Leopold, they want to watch it too. So we watched their DVD they had, and we were watching it. And my mom, every time we watch this film throughout all the years, every single time, multiple times during every viewing, she says, "Oh my God, Meg Ryan, she has the most horrible haircut I've ever seen. It's like a razor." She keeps saying, "A razor. They took a razor to her hair." And to be fair, it looks bad. Her hair looks pretty bad.
It was the style of the time, so.
Yeah. And when we get to our next film, her hair is like beautiful, gorgeous. Have you seen When Harry Met Sally? You know the same thing. Her hair is great. And then this, it's like short, chopped marketing executive.
Yeah.
You know.
It's the prototype of the Karen haircut.
Exactly. Thank you, David. That's exactly what we're going.
One thing I will say about Meg Ryan in this film is it's weird how she almost like plays the same character in every movie that I've seen her in.
Yeah.
More or less. But at the same time, in this movie, in both of these movies, but in this movie, since we're talking about it, it works.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, it's something
she's this archetype.
Yeah, it's something you don't really think about. Like, she's not really playing a character. She's just being Meg Ryan.
Yeah.
Which is all right, I guess, because it's interesting how obvious it is when you think about it, yet in watching the movie, it doesn't make like her on-screen interactions feel cheaper or hollow in any way. Like, she still sells the relationship aspect of her character interactions very well. It's just when you think about it outside the context of actually watching, it's like, wow, she's just like the same in every movie.
Yeah, the difference I would say between this and Sleepless in Seattle is her character in that is more, I don't know, more friendly, more kind, I guess you could say. In this, she's much more brash, much more like, I don't know, business cutthroat, I guess.
Yeah, it's different shades of the same thing. Because she's like, yeah, she's a little more like try like hard nosed or not hard nosed, like she's a little more quippy,
Yeah.
little more abrasive personality, but like her general mannerisms and the way she acts, the way she delivers lines, all that is very, very similar.
Yeah, yeah. And I haven't seen all of Harry Met Sally, to be fair, but there are she is like yeah, it's the same thing with that. There's different shades of her performance in that and Sleepless in Seattle. Like she is this Meg Ryan kind of character. She's either a businesswoman or somebody else, and her and a dude fall in love, basically. So, but I liked her character in this. I think it's kind of perfect for the fish out of water, Hugh Jackman, Leopold to the Kate. I think they're kind of the way they're written, the way they both perform each character kind of serves it well. There's examples out there, like in quite a few romantic films where like, oh, you can tell these actors don't have good chemistry or they are just not very compatible, but where this is the story we're going to tell, so let's go for it. And chemistry is like everything I would say it pretty much is everything with rom-coms. I mean, who cares about the story or something? It's about the relationships, basically, at the end of the day, for this genre at least. But I think this kind of, same thing with Sleepless in Seattle, this kind of harkens back to kind of those romantic films or romantic comedies back in the day, like the Cary Grant films and stuff like that as well. I think this has a little bit of that DNA, but you really see it a lot in Sleepless in Seattle. But getting to Kate and her whole thing, I think it's cool to see the point in the film in the end where her character does change and she finally realizes what's really important. Because the whole film, she's chasing the one thing, basically the promotion. And Leopold obviously gets her to that point. And I don't know if she would have gotten there without that. And then she realized what's really important and her love for him and, blah, blah, blah. But something that I just really think that those two characters specifically do complement each other well, and I think they did a good job, and they obviously have good chemistry too on screen. So, yeah, they did a pretty good job. Let's talk about, what's his face? Liev Schreiber, who's in this film. So he's the former romantic interest of Meg Ryan's character, Kate, and he has a dog. And he's a little kid that invades his apartment every like Wednesday or something.
I feel like every character invades his apartment in this movie.
And while we get into Stewart's character, I think it's funny because with this character and Mr. Breckenmeyer, Charlie, you have kind of this like Island of Misfit Toys kind of characters. All kind of culminating. You got the fish out of water character. You have Meg Ryan, the business lady, and then you got Stewart, who's this like super smart, slightly autistic individual who's interested in inventing something, and he wants to be an inventor. And then you have Charlie, who's the failed actor. So it's like these four core characters and the relationships they have with each other is fun to watch, and all these actors are very well put together in their character. But Stewart. Oh, what was the reason I brought that up? I brought it up because you don't see a whole lot of just... What I'm getting to is this. Let me stop here. Let me hold the horses, man. What I'm getting to basically is this film kind of made me appreciate, and I don't want to equate this because it's the films of the before year, like that kind of thing, even though that I think has an aspect of it. But these characters specifically made me feel like these were normal people. They look like normal people. They act like normal people. They're kind of weird and quirky like normal people. They got their flaws and they also got their quirks. And I think they each like show that well through the lens versus like modern comedies where it's just a bunch of pretty people falling in love. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I don't know. Does this make sense to you, David?
I guess.
Am I communicating that at all well?
I guess.
Like Stewart, like he's a super smart dude, but he keeps saying things that gets him into more trouble. And you're like, why are you this way?
Yeah.
And then Charlie, who's like, oh, I'm just going to do this because why not? And then he's kind of he kind of overacts basically as a failed actor.
Yeah, I feel like I mean, I would say they're pretty standard character tropes. But it does work. And it's not it's not just shallow. It's these characters have sort of like different sides to them that complicate their relationship with one another, which makes the film more interesting to watch, of course. And yeah, the characters, while they are standard, I feel like they're more standard character tropes. They feel believable. They don't feel like just cookie cutter characters. They feel like they could be real people. Even if you can analyze their performance and find the writing and their performance and find parallels with other characters, other films and all that. But you're right in that they're believably normal, even though they're not really.
Even though they're not quite normal.
But they come across as in a way where you're like, okay, I can accept these.
Yeah, or I've met maybe somebody like this before.
I can, like, my mind can accept these as people that I can connect to and care about in the story rather than just actors I'm watching on a screen kind of a thing.
Yeah, and again, maybe this is just part of the rom-com genre. Some really good examples of rom-com characters. I'm not into the genre. I've seen The Holiday and some other stuff, but that's about it. I'm not a big rom-com guy. None of us are in this room, to be fair. But I could appreciate when a character is well written. And speaking of well written, dude, what did you think of the scene where Stewart is in the psych ward and he basically like regales the nurse with like his theory about how people see time and everything? What did you think of that scene?
That was a little bit of a strange moment.
Yeah.
Like, that I think was less than believable.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, you either have to accept that he was just like monumentally lucky to find the most
gullible,
the most emotional and gullible nurse in that whole hospital and managed to take advantage of her before somebody else did.
Yeah.
Or that he has some great insight into people's character and he was able to pick her out as being particularly vulnerable. Either way doesn't really make sense.
No, especially with everything he does is not calculated at all in the sense of, especially with all the social interactions between him and other people in this film, like the nurse, the doctor, everybody. So it's fun, I wouldn't say it would be that. I'm more talking about, I think it's hilarious though. Like he just escapes. But like the whole monologue of him, like basically like breaking down time travel and time and humans, how they can't see time. A dog can't see color, but we're in a colorful world. But people, we know we have the effects of time, but we don't see time. It's like, I'm butchering it, obviously, but I thought he'd give a really funny, I thought the monologue was surprising. It comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's a cool monologue.
Yeah, it's cool. It's just like, wait, where did this come from?
It just felt like something that like they wanted to include just because.
Yeah.
And they just sort of inserted it into the story in whatever way they could.
Yeah.
Whether or not it actually made sense.
And Liev Schreiber's performance also. I think everybody's pretty great in this film, but I really liked Liev Schreiber. Not just because he gets beat up, but because he is the result of all of his problems. I mean, he gets hurt in the elevator because he went back to the past in the first place. Oops, that kind of thing. And everything else. But even though he suffers, it's good because this is the way the story and the history is meant to go according to the the way the film portrays time and time travel and the fabric of time. So, but yeah, I think overall this is a well-written, delightful rom-com that is, I was about to say inoffensive, but they do have the word transvestite in there. Before we get to the trivia, the fresh creamery butter. David, what are your thoughts on fresh creamery butter?
Oh, it's just that German guy saying it. It's just so...
It's perfect. I would have gone with that guy.
I was just... Yeah, that's one of those things that just kind of hits you like, whoa. They just said that, didn't they?
Yeah. And like the whole thing about not whole thing, but the little thing about Charlie saying, "You don't trust me to sell butter, Kate?" Like he's so mad at her as they're going to the audition. And then you go through all the people, obviously, like the German dude and whoever else they had lined up. And then like Leopold nails it and they're like, "Where'd you get this guy? This is amazing." But I thought it was really just a funny aspect and like the main conduit of drama. Because we have her with the what's his name, Whitford, that's the actor's name, but her boss as well, and that drama, and Leopold calling him out and everything, and being the sole reason she gets ahead. So I think that's kind of funny, and obviously, you know what? That's a plot line you probably wouldn't see nowadays in Hollywood about how the man is one of the reasons how she gets to the point where she is. You know,
yeah.
If we're talking, gender politics.
I don't know. I mean, this movie is such an example of a movie of its time. Not necessarily in a bad way. Mm-hmm. Just it really does date itself. And so, yeah, this film wouldn't be made like that today, if the storyline were to be done. But for me, it's not necessarily like a good or a bad thing. It's just like, oh yeah, this is an early 2000s movie.
Yep, pretty much. And it's funny too, because Charlie, his character, Breckin Myers, the actor, he's in Rat Race, which I think, God, was that 2000? I want to say so. So this guy was kind of in a bunch of different places in the early 2000s, as well as Hugh Jackman. And I don't know what else Liev Schreiber has been in, obviously, honestly. All I know from him is in this, and then the Wolverine, and then X-Men Origins Wolverine. What else have you seen him in?
He was...
Is he in other like romantic comedies or something? Or
I've seen him in a few movies. I can't remember what they are at this moment.
He was like in like Band of Brothers or something, like a military film.
I can't remember what they are at this moment, but I've seen him in a few movies.
Yeah.
I'll have to do a quick look here because I know I've seen him in more than just this and, X-Men Origins.
While you do that, there's a couple little bits and pieces I found in the film that I thought were kind of, I don't know, a little cute and worth pointing out. There's like this painting in Stuart's apartment when he's talking to Kate in the beginning, and it's like a Rocky poster, but a painting, but it looks like it's of Stuart instead. Thought that was kind of funny. And then you have the poop on the side of the street, and your quote to that was, "Did they just show that on camera?" Because they have a long shot of the dog taking a dump, but they don't show it. It's from the top, obviously. And then, like, boom, there's a massive dookie where the dog was.
Yeah.
And then Viola Davis gets her cameo after that. But yeah. And then the little performance that, and this is part of the sincerity I want to call back to, is Hugh Jackman's character, or Leopold. He performs this like reenactment of a play he saw for the little kid, which I thought was cute. Like, they're not just sitting watching TV. He got to a point where like, hey, this is a story I want to tell, And I thought that was really cute. And then you see Kate come in and see him there. So I thought that was kind of, or no, Charlie comes in. I think that was it for me. Did you find Liev Schreiber's filmography?
Yeah. So
what was he in?
So he was in, so what I remember him from, aside from the films we just talked about, is Repo Men.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I forgot he
Oh.
was in that, but yeah, he was in
Oh.
Repo Man. And then I've never really watched these movies, but I feel like they're worth mentioning because they are uh, notable. He was in the Scream movies.
Oh, he was? Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I've never watched any of those. Huh.
Yeah, and he was in Manchurian Candidate
Oh, that's right.
and Some of All Fears as well.
He was in Some of All Fears?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that movie much.
I don't
Because
think
it's not
I've
worth
seen,
remembering. Honestly.
I don't think I've seen either of those.
Yeah. Oh, you know what he was also in? He was in... Was he in Saving Private Ryan? No. It was a war film.
What year did that come out?
That was 90-something. 95? 6? I don't remember. Anyway, he was in some military film. And then I don't know what else he was in. But Manchurian Candidate, I actually rewatched that remake recently with Mr. Denzel. And he was good in that. He was good. And Meryl Streep's in it too. All right. Well, David, I think let's get into the trivia and then we'll go from there. All right. First one we got here, and just to be clear, context and preface here for the audience. This is just from IMDb trivia. I went through and picked out the best bits because honestly, anybody can go and write IMDb trivia in there and they upvote it. And sometimes it's inaccurate. So take this stuff with a grain of salt. And this is the stuff that sounded pretty believable.
Oh, one more interesting thing.
Yes.
He was in Spider-Verse. He was Kingpin.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he was Kingpin. It's not all about the money, Spider-Man. He's great as Kingpin.
Yeah, it's really funny thinking about that is like, he doesn't sound like himself really in that movie. He does a very, very good voice role.
Yeah. And then he's in that movie that came out last year with Austin Butler and Zoe Kravitz, Caught Stealing, which I want to see. Because he and Vincent D'Onofrio play two Hasidic Jew men. And it just looks like a fun movie, honestly, about some crime and some, I don't know, some side characters who are Hasidic Jews. And Vincent D'Onofrio is a great actor, so is Liev Schreiber. I'm down. Can't remember who else is in that, but yeah, that seems pretty fun. All right, first one we got up here for the trivia. Hugh Jackman took etiquette lessons from 19th century etiquette expert Jane Gibson, who trained actors on such projects as Sense and Sensibility. And he also studied ballroom dancing and he trained how to ride a horse for the film, which I thought was cool. I like that scene where he gets on the horse and stuff. I also thought it was cute. Like, he is like, why don't we just take this, instead of the taxi? And then the whole chase scene starts. All right, next one up. Hugh Jackman and Liev Schreiber would later co-star as half-brothers and mortal enemies, Wolverine and Sabretooth in X-Men Origins, Wolverine. And of course, James Mangold would go on to direct The Wolverine in 2013 and then Logan in 2017, respectively. And Jackson was the one who recommended Schreiber for the Sabretooth role. It's a bummer he wasn't in Deadpool and Wolverine, though. Liev Schreiber. You were mentioning that earlier.
Yeah.
Bummer. Missed opportunity, but oh well. Next one up. Meg Ryan didn't want to do the movie due to her image being destroyed due to her divorce with Dennis Quaid. Eventually, she gave in as James Mangold convinced her to do the movie, and she accepted. All right, next one up. And there's not much. We're going to get out of here pretty quick with the trivia. In this movie, Meg Ryan plays a character named Kate. And she also played Kate in French Kiss. And in You Got Mail as Kate. Oh, and in You Got Mail, she played Kathleen, whose nickname is Kate. In Restoration, she was Catherine, another Kate. Man, she can't get away from playing Kates, man. What's going on? I mentioned this earlier, but Viola Davis had a minor role as a police officer who gives Hugh Jackman a ticket. She went on later to co-star with him in the film Prisoners, 2013. Which makes me remember about Sicario, because Denis Villeneuve did Prisoners, and he also did Sicario, and I've been meaning to watch Sicario. I might do that tonight. Anyway, Hugh Jackman was 31 at the time, while Meg Ryan was 39 while filming.
Oh, man.
She looks pretty good.
Robbing the cradle.
Oh, God. Yeah, I know. 8 years apart. What's going on? Go on, Meg Ryan. All right, anyway. In the film's original edit, and this is the part we were talking about, director's cut, Stewart was Leopold's descendant, which was Stewart's reason for specifically tracking him down. Criticism that this plotline was also meant that Kate was Stewart's ancestor led to those scenes being cut. In the director's cut, however, which is what we watched, this plotline is followed. I'm glad we watched the director's cut because I think without it, the one thing I would cut out of this film is the shot of her in the beginning. Like, it's very obvious she's there. We're not introduced to her yet, but if you've seen the trailers, you kind of get, oh, hey, that's supposed to be Meg Ryan. What the heck? I would take that shot out, or maybe like cut it halfway so that she's kind of visible, and then it just cuts away real quick. But other than that, I'm glad they kept that storyline in there in the director's cut because it works as a theatrical cut, but I'm like, a lot of the dialogue, I'm like, was this in the original or the director's cut? I don't know. This seems like integral to the plot. So I think it's just, I'm glad that we have that version. Let's see. In an early version of the screenplay, Leopold is accidentally transported through time in an actual time machine developed by a group of scientists that includes Kate. Oh, God. They have a child of whom Leopold is unaware and eventually reunite during the Roaring 20s. Wow, guys. Kane Leopold 2.
Wow.
Well, but no, maybe not, because this last one here, the real Leopold, Duke of Albany, was actually a real person. He was Queen Victoria's son and was actually a prince. He died of hemophilia, age 30, in April 1886. And which means, according to this film's time frame, Meg Ryan, Kate, only gets a good decade of good time out of the guy until he passes away. Sucks to be you. But, yeah, what a movie. I liked it. Delightful, inoffensive, but offensive in the right ways. Yeah, maybe not that last one.
Yeah, it's an enjoyable movie for sure. Rom-coms are definitely not my thing, but I'd say it's
pretty swick.
It works. These kind of movies work well, I think, when you're watching movies as in like mixed groups of people, you know, where they're not all film buffs, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I think
kind of like when we watched it with my parents and everybody.
Yeah, it works a lot better for me in that in that context. But yeah, it's very enjoyable.
Yeah, good stuff. I like James Mangold. He's cool. I haven't seen The Complete Unknown, but Ford v Ferrari's great, man. He knows how to do drama well. And action. All right, continuing on. Number 2, David, we got our second film out of our 2 Meg Ryan rom-coms, and that is the classic Sleepless in Seattle. And the description of the film, if you weren't aware, I'm sure everybody knows what this is, but this is the plot. A recently widowed man's son calls into a radio talk show in an attempt to find his father a partner, a new wife. Directed by, and forgive me if I mispronounce this, Nora Ephron? I think we'll go with Ephron or Ephron. It'll go Ephron. Directed by Nora Ephron. Written by Nora Ephron, David S. Ward, and Jeff Arch. Starring Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan, Ross Malinger, Rita Wilson, Victor Garber, Tom Reese Farrell, Bill Pullman, Francis Conroy, Carrie Lowell, Rosie O'Donnell, and the man himself, who feels like he directed this, Rob Reiner. With a budget of $21 million and a box office of a whopping, holy crap, David, $227 million worldwide at the box office. Runtime of 1 hour and 45 minutes and released in the year of our Lord 1993, David. What are our general thoughts of Sleepless in Seattle? And what's your history with the film?
So Sleepless in Seattle is one of those films that I've seen a lot growing up. It was kind of always like, it was that and then You've Got Mail, another Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan rom-com that were just one of those movies that we just seemed to watch as a family anytime they were on TV or whatever.
Mm.
So, yeah, I haven't seen the film in a number of years. And so this, again, is like Kate and Leopold was kind of my first critical viewing of the film. But I have seen it many, 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 many times before this. And I have to say, it holds up. Like I enjoyed as much as I ever did. You know, on all those family movie nights and whatnot. Like it's yeah, I feel like it deserved that status as a box office hit because it's a very well crafted film.
Mm.
Sometimes it's a little too on the nose, I feel a little bit, or I don't want to quote other reviewers, but I happen to agree with them, so I'll use the same word.
Okay.
Some reviewers have called this film, like contemporary reviews, like when it first came out, called it contrived.
Huh.
And I would kind of agree with that. Like everything's put together just a little bit too neatly. But for me, it doesn't detract from the film. But
I think I would take this film along the same lines as Kate and Leopold, where there's enough there that, yeah, this is kind of like, would this really happen? But no, not really. It wouldn't happen. But there's enough here that makes me care about it and makes me want to see the end result, as well as I think it's just very well put together in general. So there's more good that you get out of the film in general, I would say, at least for myself, my opinion, than kind of the contrived aspects. It does kind of fit. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. Like fit, like kind of
all
fits too well
the
together.
dialogue and the story and the way the characters are just kind of like they dovetail into each other so neatly. Like, it doesn't feel totally organic at times. Like Kate and Leopold is one of those things where despite the plot being a little on the thin side, at the very least everything feels more or less organic. This doesn't feel as organic, I would say. There's definitely times where it's like, oh yes, this has to happen and this has to happen and this has to happen because that's the way the writers wanted it to go down, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So
it feels like me reading one of the Maze Runner books after the first one.
Yeah. But at the same time, the dialogue is well written enough and the performances are good enough. The on-screen chemistry I think more than makes up for that.
Yeah, it's a funny concept. Oh, this kid calls in and he's like, "Hey, my dad's sad. I'm sad. My mom died. We're to look. I want him to find somebody else." And then instead of hanging up the phone like you would think Tom Hanks would, his character at least, he stays on the phone, and then our plot continues through the film. There's a lot of aspects that I guess you could look at now thinking about it, where yes, you could just shut down the plot. Like, hey, she's gonna get married to this guy. She was gonna stay married to this guy. There's also some realistic things that you don't see happen later on. Like apparently she's gonna call off the wedding at some point after the credits roll. You know, in terms of story, like, okay, she's gonna get rid of this guy, Bill Pullman's character that she's engaged to.
Well, she already did.
Oh, did she? What?
Yeah.
Did I miss it?
It happened during their New York dinner conversation.
Did she say like goodbye or something, or it's over?
Well, no, he did.
Oh, he did? What?
Well, he didn't.
Man, I missed it.
Well, he didn't dump her specifically.
Okay.
He was talking about like he basically kind of revealed that he had sensed all along that she was worried that she might be settling for somebody by being with him, and he's like, I don't want that. And then he straight up told her, I don't want to be the person that you settle for. And she said something, I can't remember exactly what she said. And he's like basically expressing how she was feeling about it. Like, and he's like, yeah, I know. And then she saw the
heart
on the Empire State Building
okay.
and said, I had to go.
Okay, gotcha, yeah. This film I have a little history with. My parents would always watch this film, and I would just have no interest in it, obviously. Honestly, as a kid, I'm like, whatever, it's a rom-com, I don't care. Like, Leopold was interesting because it's like it had that kind of shtick. This guy from the past is in the future. That's cool. But like this, I'm like, it's a love story, stupid. I don't even know what it's about as a kid. And then this was my first actual time watching it all the way through. I've seen it like bits and pieces and on TV at times throughout the years, but never just sat down and watched it. And this was my first viewing. And I totally get why people love this film. It's interesting. The chemistry is interesting. The story, what's going to happen, it keeps you going. Great dialogue. I want to say that. Like, this film, I don't know if it's like realistic. It's not realistic dialogue, I would say, but it's entertaining dialogue.
And that's
it's kind of like a Tarantino film almost.
And that's kind of what when I
or an Aaron Sorkin kind of joint.
And that's kind of why I agree with the contrived description of some of the reviewers of this film who didn't like it. Is the dialogue is not very realistic. It's not like this is an actual conversation that two people could have. Like, the dialogue was very clearly crafted to just be basically people trading quips with each other.
Yeah.
But it works.
Really.
It's fun.
Yeah. It's fun. The acting's good. Dude, the whole every scene with Tom Hanks in this film. Like, now I get it. Like, I've seen him in a lot of things. Obviously Big's a classic and that kind of thing, and he's a great actor. But this movie, I was like, bro, he is just unstoppable. Like, this guy is just talent, man. On talent on camera, man. Like, on paper, like, this guy making money, dude. Like, that's why he's rich, is because he's just been given good performance after good performance. What's that show? Is it Bosom Buddies? Where he was, him and his buddy couldn't afford living in New York. So, because they're poor. So they dress up and pretend they're women. This is a series. This is a show.
I've never
You've
seen
never
this
seen this? Oh,
or
it's
heard
funny.
Of this.
It was like in the 80s. This is like the first thing Tom Hanks was in. And we have like, I think Mom and Dad growing up, we had the season on DVD. And him and some other actor was, him and another character, the plot was they decided to dress up and pretend they're women to live in an apartment of just women so that they didn't have to pay as much rent. Basically.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's a comedy. It's a show. It's a series. It was funny. And eventually, of course, they're found out and how that transpires and everything. But I remember seeing him in that growing up. And then obviously, Toy Story and Big and the such. But man, his performance in Sleepless in Seattle is just so good. And his back and forth with his kid Jonah is great. Like, again, not like realistic, not per se, but entertaining, man. And his whole like relationship with Rob Reiner, everybody like being kind or trying to console him, but his wife just died. So it's like, nobody's doing a good job at counseling.
Yeah. One thing I will say is the dialogue is pretty contrived in terms of it doesn't feel like a normal organic conversation at all.
Yeah.
But like, the emotion, like the performances are there, like emotion wise.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
When he's arguing with his son, like, obviously, yeah, the dialogue is, some writers wrote that, but like the emotion is convincing there. And so that sort of draws you into it. And you don't really care that the dialogue isn't very organic or very realistic, just because the it feels earnest enough just because of the performances.
Mm. And I think I mentioned earlier how Rob Reiner probably, you'd think he directed this, but he didn't. It was actually the writer he collaborated with on many a project, including When Harry Met Sally. And this was her like part to direct. We'll get into later. There's another director I think lined up, but she does a good job. I think it's does the job. I think there's nothing wrong with it necessarily. And, editing's good. The performances are great. Again, the chemistry's good. The one realistic thing, though, I will say that I would argue is realistic, David, and not contrived, is that scene around the dinner table with his sister and her husband. And they're talking about what made them cry. Because I've been in situations just like that, where like somebody's like regaling their feelings about something, and then we don't know how to react to it, and they're like, oh, okay. And then we kind of say, oh, you know what? That makes me think of X. And then we go into the kind of the same thing. So I feel like even though it's like awkward and weird and perceived as unrealistic, I would argue that I've been in that situation before. So I would say that's realistic. I don't know. Maybe I'm just special. But I like, in contrast, so let's go to Meg Ryan here. I like how, in contrast to her character in Not You've Got Mail, Kate and Leopold, that's what we're talking about. God, there's so many of these rom-coms that she's in. It's hard to keep track of them. And apparently there was more that I listed. I like how gentle and caring she is. She's more like, she isn't just some girl boss or anything. She's just like this regular chick who is just kind of she's settling in this film, but she has that feeling of, oh man, but what if, what if this was possible? And you kind of admire her for that, while as the guy in me is like, okay, lady, come on. What are you doing? You got a good guy there. He's got some sniffles, but he can provide for you. But it's a rom-com thing, so you gotta think about it both ways here.
Yeah, one of those things too is like, this I think is true of both films. It's like both films are like trying to, it's almost like sort of like an idealized sort of vision of the past is trying to break through like the cynicism of the current day that the characters find themselves in. Is kind of like the theme in both of these movies.
And it's kind of funny because also both of these films, and I guess this might be part of the rom-com genre or romantic film genre, is both of these films in a way are a fairy tale when you look at it.
Yeah.
One has fantastical elements, one has something that would never happen, but how can it happen is kind of the pull and the hook that gets you into it. And I think, they're both entertaining, so they both succeed in that. And yeah, it's not realistic. It is contrived, but it's entertaining. And I think that's what a good movie is supposed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt bad, though, for the kid in this movie. That poor child. He's got to suffer with this random chick that his dad thinks is okay. And she's like got the most annoying laugh. And then he's being a little stinker as well, bringing women over without asking his dad's permission,
Yeah.
Jessica, that little manipulator, take advantage of the little boy who's way shorter than her, by the way. So
yeah, I thought this was really funny. Like, he was clearly childlike,
yeah,
and not at all wise to how the world really works.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, he had moments where he was able to like see more clearly than the adults, like with the decorator lady.
Yeah,
like
the swatch lady.
Yeah, she's just so annoying.
God, yeah.
And
and the chick who plays her did a really good job of being annoying.
Like,
you hate her for it.
She's so annoying and just like that kind of like fake earnest, where she's not really interested in any of the things that you're telling her. She's just kind of like
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, reacting how she thinks she should react.
Yep.
And it's just funny, like he sees that in her right away. And whereas Tom Hanks' character is just like,
Oh,
yeah,
no, I'm with a woman again.
yeah.
Hooray.
He's like, it could work out, He gives his son the whole spiel about how dating is trying people on to see if they fit. And it's like, she clearly doesn't fit.
Yeah.
From the very first moment of the relationship, but he keeps trying her on, so to speak.
Yeah, and and speaking of if it fits, what does Rob Reiner say to him in that first scene they're in together at the house where he's like, what do they call it, when things they intersect. Yeah, what happens when they intersect? And then just Tom Hanks walks by and he says the Bermuda Triangle, and then it cuts. There's great dialogue in this movie, I'm telling you. And just random stuff too, like the kid messing with the crab. Stop it! Put it down now. It's like, what the heck? Oh, and then like the kid, he's around adults all the time, so he's gonna act and talk like an adult. Where he says the line, "I know this, Dad, because I am younger and pure." Yeah, there's so many good ones in this. Great one-liner stuff. But I'll tell you what, David, the highlight of the film for me was the dinner scene that we already mentioned, where Rita Wilson is there, real life wife of Tom Hanks. She's supposed to be his sister in this, which is kind of weird. But she's telling about, I can't remember what she's talking about, but it just shows me I'm a guy. I wasn't paying attention. But she's telling this emotional thing, and she's getting about a book or a movie or something.
She's talking about the Cary Grant movie.
Oh, that Cary Grant, the Cary Grant movie,
the same movie that all the other women are talking about at various points in the film.
I love how this bit carries into the scene. And she just is tearing up. And Rita Wilson gives a wonderful monologue and just knocks it out of the park. She's perfect in like every delivery here of the lines, of how she portrays herself. It's great. And the guys are just like looking at each other like, oh yeah, that is sad. And then it's over. Like she's done. She's like, patting her eyes, where the tears are. And then he's like, what? There's something I cried at once. It was the ending of Dirty Dozen. And then he just goes into it. And Tom Hanks and the guy who plays the husband, Rita Wilson's husband, character's husband, just talk about the ending of Dirty Dozen. And they both start tear crying. And it's like, what's going on? And it's so great. It's a great scene, dude. Oh man, what else did I have written down here? $80 in 1980, 93. The dude was holding a Game Boy, and Jessica's like, "How much money do you have?" He's like, $80 or something like that. And I'm like, $80 in 1993, dude. That's Mortal Kombat on Super Nintendo right there, bro. That's a lot of money right there, man.
Yeah.
Like my example I wrote down first was Final Fantasy 6, but it came out in 94, so I was a little ahead of the curve on that one. But anyway. Yeah, $80, and he's holding the Game Boy, which is also $80.
Yeah, and she had 43.
Dude, that's a plane ticket.
That's a respectable amount of cash.
Yeah.
For little children to have.
Yeah, he
in
could
that
get
time period.
He'd get a plane ticket and then a cab when he gets to New York, which I guess
the
plot hole of how he gets there, who knows? But yeah, I guess that's the cash he used to get there, the Empire State Building. But
and you know what? Speaking of things of the time,
yes,
like his house in that movie is like, oh my God. Like
they're talking about the house on the water.
Yeah, that he and his son live in.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you would have to be fantastically rich to afford a dwelling like that nowadays. And this is just some run-of-the-mill architect guy. Clearly he's making some good money, but he's not like...
He's in construction and business, and
he's making good money, but he's not like rich, you know?
Yeah.
He's
definitely upper middle class here.
Yeah, he's upper middle class, but he's not like, fantastically wealthy. And just like...
He's got no woman also to spend his money on. So
that's just like...
He's got a kid.
like just thinking about that, it's like, man, nowadays, a house like that, you have to be a millionaire.
Yeah. Oh, dude, totally.
Like,
Absolutely.
multi-millionaire in
Yeah.
order to afford a place like that.
And I'm sure that place now today is owned by some Chinese company that's now an Airbnb 24/7.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah. Let's see. I don't know where to go. I want to go to here. The Burl Ives song, though, David, at the end, questionable, to say the least. I was not a fan of any of the Burl Ives singing in this. Like, what do you get when you have oranges and lemons? You make orange and lemonade. I don't know what he's singing about, but he's got that voice.
He's doing that Burl
Frosty the Snowman.
Yeah, he's doing that Burl Ives thing.
Yeah, it's like, it doesn't fit, I think, for this film, personally. It didn't hit for me, I will say.
Well,
But,
I think what it's supposed to be is, because I talked about like the theme of the movie kind of like kind of setting aside the contemporary cynicism to sort of emulate the sincerity and idealism of like kind of like an idealized sort of past. So, because like the whole thing centers around like Meg Ryan basically idolizing this Cary Grant film, you know, from decades ago. And so I think the music choice was supposed to kind of fit into that era. Like, I agree that the song was not a good choice. Like, they could have gone with something else from that time period, but there was a method to why they chose that.
At the very least, at least it wasn't some like modern day 90s band that the studio just said, hey, you're going to make a song for the new hit movie.
Yeah.
Out, you know, at least it wasn't that.
Yeah, the soundtrack, all things considered, it's not the greatest, but it works.
Yeah, it works. You said that you believe it's emulating what came before, like the movie, the Cary Grant movie, like they're talking about.
Yeah, they're trying. I feel like it's trying to be like a callback to that sort of Hollywoodized version of the past, kind of a thing.
That's kind of what we were going through when we watched Gremlins for that two films, the two Joe Dante films, where it was that film in 1984 with Gremlins really was a callback to a lot of, I mean, it was a callback to a lot of old horror films, but also a lot of old Hollywood films like It's a Wonderful Life, which they reference many times in that film. So a lot of Frank Capra stuff as well. This film obviously is from the Cary Grant era, trying to emulate that. And same way, James Mangold also said in an interview with Kate and Leopold that he tried to make that his kind of entry into the genre. Like he was trying to emulate that as well, with specifically Cary Grant and, oh gosh, I couldn't tell you the actress he named, but he was trying to make a film of that harkened back to that era. And this film, Sleepless in Seattle does a wonderful job at that. It's, you know, kind of like Gremlins. You see the film on the screen that the characters are watching that obviously they're inspired by. And it makes sense. All these people who are in this film, they grew up watching all this stuff. So it like makes sense that they would want to emulate that. Kind of like how nowadays people want to emulate stuff from the 80s and 90s and so on and so forth. So, and it's done in a nice way in this movie. I liked it. Kind of like what you said, the sincerity and the idealism of that. It's kind of cool. Maybe we should do that. This podcast is only an inspiration and emulation of, you know what? I don't know what it is anymore.
Great podcasts of the past, like.
Were there any? Anyway. Do you want to get into the trivia?
Yeah,
let's do that. Okay. A little bit more than Kate and Leopold. Let's dump into it. Again, take it with a grain of salt, but here we go. First one, the director Nora Ephron managed to get Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan when they suddenly became available when their starring roles in the film, or the attempted film, Inns of New England, for Lawrence Kasdan was canceled for budgetary reasons. So they were both lined up to be co-stars in a film by Lawrence Kasdan that was canceled. Kind of interesting. And then this film kind of was the
Kasdan, wasn't he the guy who directed Return of the Jedi?
I think he just wrote Return of the Jedi. It was somebody else that did directed.
Or
Lawrence Kasdan wrote a bunch of the Star Wars stuff.
Yeah, okay. I thought he directed one of them. Maybe it was Empire. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know.
No, it was a chick who did. No, a chick wrote Empire with George. I don't know. We're going to have to look that up. The second one I have here is the director I mentioned earlier. Gary Marshall was originally slated to direct the film. But my question is this. This is so Rob Reiner encoded. Why wasn't Rob Reiner attached to direct this thing?
See, that's what I was thinking about this. And I'm wondering, because you said, because Rob Reiner directed When Harry Met Sally, right?
Yeah, which was after this, to be fair, but yes. Yeah.
And
of course, Princess Bride and
he had and he had worked with Nora Ephron, like, as far as writing.
Yeah, she was his main writer for a long time.
So it almost seems to me like she might have been like his protege or something.
I could see that.
And this was kind of like he basically kind of like gave her the opportunity, so to speak.
Yeah, I could
like
see that.
Maybe he took on like a sort of mentorship role.
Yeah.
In helping her direct, like, you know, basically direct her first film. I don't know if this was her first film or not, but it seems it's the only film I've ever heard of her doing.
Yeah, same here, yeah. And he did, the year before this, in 92, he did A Few Good Men with Tom Cruise, which I totally forgot he directed that. Great movie. So yeah, it made me realize it's like so much When Harry Met Sally, but that came a long way, like a couple years later. So it's like, why didn't Robert Reiner just direct this? But I think Nora did a great job. I think she was pretty good. So
yeah,
I think either way, if you get Gary Marshall or Rob or Nora, I think they all could have done a great job. But
yeah, something tells me that I don't know if he was credited as the producer in this or not at all.
I don't believe so.
Something tells me that he probably had some behind the scenes sort of influence on her in this film.
Yeah, I'm looking up real quick what Nora Ephron did before this. So she passed away back in 2012, unfortunately. I actually remember that news report back in the day, back in 2012, where they reported that she passed away. And they're like, oh, she's the one that directed Sleepless in Seattle. And you're like, wait, what? Wait, no way. Oh, never mind. That's Bewitched, not Bedazzled. I was like, no way. Did she direct Bedazzled? But that was Mr. Harold Ramis instead.
Yes.
Yeah. Harold Ramis, man. Great. She mainly wrote stuff like Julia and Julia, When Harry Met Sally, Sleep in Seattle, other stuff like that. But what did she direct? It says 8 things here on IMDb. Let's take a gander at what they are. She directed Julia and Julia. She did You've Got Mail.
Interesting.
Okay, huh. And then her first film was called This Is My Life, and then the year after that, she did Sleepless in Seattle. So Sleepless in Seattle was her second one.
Yeah, well, but
yeah,
first film might not have been.
Yeah, This Is My Life. I've
like
never heard
a
of this.
major Hollywood production.
No, it's a smaller. It's got Carrie Fisher in it though, with Dan Aykroyd.
Very nice.
Interesting. Okay.
But so yeah, this feels almost like Rob Reiner was kind of mentoring her, and like this was her like shot at the big time, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. She did great. I think she did pretty dang good.
Yeah. Excellent.
Also, Julia and Julia, that's another great rom-com right there.
I don't think I've seen that one actually.
That's a good movie. It's about Julia Childs and Amy. What's the actress's name? I don't remember. Anyway, continuing on. The movie was inspired by the film An Affair to Remember, which was in 1957, which the film references. So that's the film we were talking about with Cary Grant. All right, continuing on. Despite playing the role of his sister in the movie, Rita Wilson is the real-life wife of Tom Hanks. They had been married for 5 years at the time this movie was released. Next one. Tom Hanks simultaneously, how do you say that? Simultaneously. I think I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He simultaneously did voice work for Woody in Toy Story during his days off from this film.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. Next one says, for his performance in this film, Tom Hanks was nominated for Best Actor in a Motion Picture / Comedy or Musical at the Golden Globes. And at the same ceremony, he won. He won Best Actor for a motion picture and / drama for the film Philadelphia in 1993. Also released by TriStar, which did Sleepless in Seattle. All right, next one. When Annie receives counsel from her brother, David Hyde Pierce, the actor's name, he gives her a psychological explanation that she feels love for the man called Sleepless in Seattle is being controlled by her subconscious mind. He also complains that it rains too much in Seattle, and she would not be happy there. 2 months after the release of this movie, the pilot episode for Frasier aired, where David Hyde Pierce is in a supporting role as a psychiatrist living in Seattle throughout the length of the series. Which is why I kept saying, dude, that guy, I've seen him in Frasier. And there we go. All right, next one. Tom Hanks took issue with a scene, as written, where Jonah objects to his dad dating other women, as his father was originally to give in, given to Jonah. Hanks told Nora and Delia Ephron that as mothers, they didn't understand how a father would react. He told them that there was, quote, not a father in the world that would give a rat's ass what his son's thoughts if he wanted to get laid. The Ephrons were convinced and rewrote the scene.
Okay.
Okay. All right, next one. When Jonah says that, okay, this was the thing you were bringing up, which the legendary folktale of, it says Paul is dead. The whole thing with that, which I'll just read out for the audience, for those unaware. When the scene where Jonah says that when you reverse the record, it says Paul is dead, while listening to Sgt. Pepper album by the Beatles, this is a reference to a popular rumor that spread in the late 1960s that Paul McCartney of the Beatles died in a car crash and was supposedly replaced by a lookalike. Now, of course, subscribers of this theory found in quotes, dozens of clues in support of this theory, ranging from song lyrics to misinterpreted vocal sounds and album covers. But David, thank you for explaining this to me. I've heard of it like maybe once in my life, but yeah, apparently Paul died. And do you subscribe to this theory?
No.
Paul McCartney is Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
He wasn't a clone.
Yeah, it'd be pretty hard to, with the technology of the time, to pull something like that off.
They go full Hush from Batman for Paul McCartney. Like, we gotta preserve his face. He's Paul McCartney. So like he died. Did they like take his face and put it on somebody else?
Yeah. Also, too, it's like, the Beatles were a popular band, but like,
come on,
there's no way like some secret government technology would be employed to keep the illusion going.
Yeah, conspiracy theorists out there, just go have your fun. But yeah, I don't believe in it. Just have your fun, though. All right, continuing on. When Anne is on the plane to go to Seattle, the book in her lap is Pride and Prejudice. In the film You've Got Mail, the favorite book of Meg Ryan's character in that film, Kate, is Pride and Prejudice.
Huh. I like Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. That was a good book.
Yeah, I remember growing up, Angie had that in her room. And then what was the other one with the sea monster on the cover?
I don't know.
Sensibility and Sea Monsters.
Oh, yes.
That was it.
I never read that one. But yeah, the Pride and Prejudice and Zombies was, I really loved it because it was like the zombie editions were so seamless. They were like, it's so absurd that like zombies would just exist in Jane Austen's world. And yet the way it's written, the zombie editions are just so believable and seamless. Like it really just feels like you're reading Pride and Prejudice
with just the zombies.
With just the zombies there as a backdrop to the story. It doesn't feel out of place at all, even though it should. It should absolutely feel out of place, but it doesn't.
Oh man. Oh, I think the same author did Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter as well, which
I saw the movie for that.
I saw the movie.
I didn't read the book.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. It's funny how that and Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies got adapted into a film. Were they successful? No.
I never saw the Pride and Prejudice and Zombies film.
Yeah, me neither. But I remember seeing the trailer.
I would have been excited for it had I known about it. But
it was like early 20-teens, I think.
But it probably didn't turn out too good.
Yeah. What did turn out good is this right here. The scene between Tom Hanks and Victor Garber crying over the movie The Dirty Dozen was completely improvised during the take.
Huh.
That's kind of cool. That's why I told you it feels authentic.
Yeah.
Let's see. The next one I have here is, and in Brazil and Argentina, the movie was called Sinfonia de Amor, which freely translated to English would be Love Tuning. Yeah, sure. Okay. Number 13, last one. While making this film, Nora Ephron was focused on its long-term legacy. In quotes, she says here, "Our dream was to make a movie about how movies screw up your brain about love. And then we did a good job. And then if we did a good job, we would become one of the movies that would screw up people's brains about love forever." And that's all I got for you, David. What a thoroughly enjoyable film, Sleepless in Seattle.
Yeah.
Contrived maybe, but entertaining to say the least. And just the whole bit of him and the son and all the interaction scenes. A lot of memorable moments in this movie. It sticks with you. And I think Kate Leopold, going back to that, is just a very solid film. But that's all I got for you, David. Do you have any more final thoughts on Sleepless in Seattle?
No, can't say that I do.
Yeah? All right, we'll call it there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you made it this far. If you did, email or text me the word frog. If you get this far, let me know. Text me the word frog or email us at snarpfanglepod@gmail.com. Remember, if you're Meg Ryan and you've gotten a lot of work done in this world, just remember that your face shouldn't be messed with too much. And if it is, you shouldn't stray far from your natural beauty. Because remember to bless your face and snarp fangle on.
Bye-bye now.